Hi, and a very, very warm good morning or good afternoon to my beautiful and lovely children. I welcome you to my online English language class. My name is Annie Kidwai, and I am your English facilitator, and this is my demonstration video for language class. The topic that I have chosen today to teach you all is a fiction, and it will also improve the reading skill of a child or of you. So we'll understand how we can improve our reading skills, what is fiction, what are the types of different types of fictions, what is the purpose of learning English language, how we can improve our English language, and how we can improve our reading skill capacity. So in this class, I'm going to teach you all of it with numerous activities, worksheets, and some quizzes and questionnaires. So I hope you enjoy this language class with me and sing along a beautiful poem by PATTEN. I've chosen this poem to teach you today, which is You Can't Beat That. It is a very beautiful poem which is quite close to my heart. So let's understand. Before we jump into the poem or try to understand this poem, firstly, I would like to brief you a little about what is a poem and in which category of writing a poem falls into. My dear children, a poem means rhythmic fashion of stanzas written in relation with one another based on a strong concept or idea that a poet wants to convey to the listeners. It can be a ballad also. A ballad is a kind of a poetry which can, you know, which we can sing also. It's a musical poem, but we are not going to go really deep into it. But of course, we are going to see a little bit of writing style here. So I'm going to start this session by quickly briefing you about what is fiction. My dear children, fiction means something which is imaginary. Imaginary, the imagination of the author or the writer. That means the characters, the story, the plot, whatever is you are reading about is the creation of the imagination of the author or the writer. It has no relevance with the facts or the reality. On the other hand, there is something called as non-fictional writing, or we call it as non-fiction. Whereas in non-fiction, the text that you read is all based on true facts. For example, you read news in the newspaper. It is non-fiction because it is true, it is realistic. Okay? Whereas any story that you read, for example, about Cinderella. So Cinderella is not a fact, it's not true. It's just the creation of the imagination of the author or the writer, and he created some characters and he created a plot and some kind of a theme and conveyed. So why we need to learn or read fiction? That is the word here. To read. We need to learn language, right? And these are few of the tools to develop reading proficiency in an individual or in a person. So, to improve our reading proficiency, my dear children, we need to read stories. We need to read newspapers to improve the proficiency of a language. So, what do you mean by the word proficiency? We mean by the word proficiency as a skill or ability to do something. When we say about language proficiency, by saying that we mean a skill or an ability of language. Okay, so this is enough for you right now at this level to understand. I tried to explain you the concept of reading fiction and non-fiction in a very basic manner so that you're able to digest it at your level. Let's see what we have more here. So, who is this person in this picture? You must be wondering. Who is this person? This is a very handsome person. Handsome, an adjective I just used for this person, for this individual. So, this person is Brian Payton, the poet of this poem. So he is the poet. Brian Payton was born in 1946 and he was a Britisher. Who are Britishers? Who stays in the United Kingdom or England, right? People from England are called as Britishers. So they are the natives or the people from where this language emerged, originated. So Britishers are the native speakers of English language. Payton is known for his poetry collections for children such as Gargling with Jelly and Thawing Frozen, and many more. So let's understand the poem here. I told them. So this is the first stanza that started. Let's read it together. I told then, when I grow up, I'm not going to be a scientist or someone who reads the news on TV. No, a million birds will fly through me. I'm going to be a tree. So who is speaking these lines? I is the poet Brian Payton. Let's understand here more who is actually speaking in this poem. So I told them when I grow up. So the poet tells to somebody that when I grow up, I'm not going to become a scientist. I'm not going to become a news reader. No, a million birds will fly through me, right? I'm going to be a tree. I'll become when I'll grow up, I'll become a tree. Let's understand more. They said, you can't be that. No, you can't be that. So there is a child here, and because how I get to know it's a child? By reading the first two lines. When I grow up. So that means it's he or she is not an adult or a teenager. It's still he or she is still young. So when I grow up, I'm not going to be a scientist or someone who reads the news on TV. No, A million birds will fly through me. I'm going to be a tree. They said, you can't be that. No, you can't be that. So a child is saying to someone, probably to his or her parents, that when I'm going to grow up, I'll not become a scientist or somebody who is going to read news. I'm going to become a tree. So obviously the parents have said, or the people have said, no, you can't be a tree because you are a human being. How can you be a tree? Right? Let's understand more. I told them when I grow up, I'm not going to be an airline pilot, a dancer, a lawyer, or an MC. No huge whales will swim in me. I'm going to be an ocean. So again, the child says to the parents or to the people that when I grow up, I'm not going to become an airline pilot, a pilot who flies airplanes. Okay, like we have commercial pilots, we have fighter pilots who protect the borders of a nation by serving in the defense forces of those nations. A dancer, a lawyer. No huge whales, no huge whales will swim in me. So he said that I'm not going to become all of it. Whales will swim in me. So how whales will swim in me? When I'll become an ocean. They said, you can't be that. No, you can't be that. I told them, I'm not going to be a DJ, a computer programmer, a musician, or beautician. No, streams will flow through me. I'll be the home of eagles. I'll be full of nooks, crannies, valleys, and fountains. I'm going to be a range of mountains. They said, you can't be that, you can't be that. So I'm not going to become a DJ who plays music in a party, a computer programmer, or a musician, or a beautician. Streams are a little narrower than the rivers. They're small, or I would say, uh, they're smaller than rivers, and it's a flow of water with less current than the riverbeds. So streams will flow through me. I'll be the home of eagles, and all the birds and the eagles will come in. The cranes that stands in the river bed, just at the river banks. So, I'll be full of valleys and fountains and mountains, and I'll be a range of mountains. So, where the valleys will be there, the eagles will come and sit over the mountains. They fly so high. So, I'm not going to become a DJ or a computer programmer. So, it seems that the child or the poet is a nature lover. So, we got to understand that the poet is a nature lover, and he is very creative in his mind, and he is very artistic, that he doesn't want to study science, he doesn't want to study law, he doesn't want to study music, he is not interested into fashion or beauty. He is more into natural things. So that seems like people who are more towards nature, who have kindness and compassion inside of them, they love and embrace natural things a lot. So that means the child is very kind hearted and compassionate. Again, the people or the parents have said, no, you can't be that, you can't be that. Of course, how can a person can become a mountain? So logically, they said, no, you can't be that. You have to be a lawyer. You have to be this. You have to be that. So he's denying all of it. No, I don't want to be that. I asked them, just what do you think I am? Just a child, they said. And children always become at least one of the things we want them to be. So that means in stanza 4, we got to understand that the poet is a child, and that child is telling about his thoughts, whatever he is getting the thoughts in his mind to his parents, that I want to become a tree, I want to become an ocean, I want to be mountain. He's so mesmerized by the beauty of the nature that he wants to become all of it. So that is how, and that is why he's telling to his parents that he wants to become all of it, rather becoming a lawyer, a doctor, a programmer, beautician, a musician, etc. So the parents are trying to convince the child. Children do what the parents tells them to do. So you have to become any of these things, but you cannot be a mountain, you cannot be an ocean, and so many other things. It seems like the child is very creative. They do not understand me. I'll be stable if I want smelling of fresh hay. So the child now become, really, um, you know, annoyed in a way that you just don't understand me. I want to smell the fresh hay. Hay is a kind of a substance that the horses eat, dry grass, we can say in a way. I'll be lost glade in which unicorns still play. So what is a unicorn? Unicorn is a pony. It's a beautiful imaginary animal which does not exist in real. They do not realize I can fulfill any ambition. So they just think that I am unable to fulfill any kind of an ambition or a goal I have, because I want to become a mountain, I want to become an ocean, and so many other unrealistic things. They do not realize among them walks a magician. So they do not realize that I want to become a magician. So if I will become a magician, I can become an ocean, I can become a mountain, I can become a tree, right? So they do not realize I have ambitions, so I want to become a magician. Let's see further. So here, children, I've brought you the summary of this poem that I just explained to you by Brian Payton. It is a beautiful poem. So Brian Payton usually writes about the relationship the relationship of human relationship, and this poem is also explaining about the relationship of a child with his parents, his prodigy, his way of thoughts and thinking, and his way of doing things and seeing, and his perspective for seeing the world. He's trying to explain with his own creativity and thought of action to his parents. But of course, as a concerned parent, every parent wants something better and the best for their own child to succeed in life ahead. And in the same way, the parent of the child in the poem also wants best for him. So they're trying to convince him. But of course, the child here reflects that the child has compassion, kind-hearted. He is sensitive and emotional and selfless, right? But of course, he also had a logic behind that. That if I want to become a mountain, a tree, or something like that, so if I'll be a magician, I'll do magic shows, so I can become all of it. So it was a creative child prodigy that got reflected in this poem, and it's a relationship explained in a beautiful poem between the child and the child's parent. So this is the summary that I have written and explained here in my own words. So if you want, you can go through it. I'll try to provide you the copies for it as well. So let's move ahead. So here we have some questions and answers with respect to that. So who are they in the poem? We were reading about they. So they is used for the parents of the child. Do they encourage the speaker to fulfill his ambition? Give reasons to your answer. No, they do not encourage the speaker to fulfill his ambitions because they thought that the child is unable to take his own decisions. He does not know what is right to choose for him as he is a child. And further, we have some more questions here. Why does the poet not wish to become a scientist? Because he does not want to become a scientist, he wants to become a tree. It's his creativity, his perspective of seeing the world in a different way than the usual. Is the speaker a real magician? If so, what makes you say that? No, the speaker is not a real magician. He's a child. He's just sharing his thoughts, right? He was angry from his parents not to choose what he want to become. Rather, they are trying to impose things on him to become what they want him to become. So, we are going to discuss very important thing is here, that is figure of speech. So, what is figure of speech, children? In a poem or any kind of a writing in English that we do, we use some figures of speech to create style in the language. A figure of speech is used to differentiate between an ordinary language to create a rhetorical effect or a style or a different tone in the type of or a kind of writing. So here in this poem, which figure of speech is used? Refrain. Refrain. You can't be that. You can't be that. A group of words or lines in a poem that are repeated in order to create rhythm or emphasis. So you can't be that is, repeated again and again in the poem. So this figure of speech is used in the poem to create rhythm and emphasis on a particular topic in the poem, in the lines. For example, you can see here in the picture, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So here, twinkle, twinkle, little star is repeated twice to create emphasis. So twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. So a child is singing these lines, right? So twinkle, twinkle is repeated twice here. So which figure of speech is used in this type of writing is refrain, which is used to create rhythm or emphasis. It usually comes at the end of a stanza or between two stanzas. So this is one of the example of refrain. Okay, if you have any doubts or any questions, please do ask. Now, one more thing, children, I would like to describe here that we talked about at the beginning, fictional and non-fictional writing. So what does fiction and non-fiction writing is basically in one word? It is a prose. Prose is something in one word, if I say, is a thought. And prose is classified into two, that is fiction and non-fiction. Okay, my dear children? Again, we have narrative prose, descriptive prose, expository prose. So we are going to learn here what is descriptive prose. A prose is a thought which can be verbal or non-verbal. A prose in the written form can be narrative, descriptive, or expository. So any piece of writing or spoken language that is communicating our thought is called as prose. It can be fictional prose and it can be non-fictional prose. Okay, my dear children, fictional prose, which is imaginary, which is not real, and non-fictional prose, which is not imaginary, which is based on true facts. Okay. What is descriptive prose? The descriptive prose which describes objects, situations, people. It has a descriptive style of writing. A descriptive writing is a piece of writing which reflects the elaboration of events of people, places, or objects in detail with literary devices or figures of speech. So the poem we just read is a descriptive prose. So thank you so much, my dear and lovely students here, and thank you so much for your time. You can leave your feedback on my email ID, and if there is something I can improve, I will surely do that. I wish you a beautiful day ahead, and please do come up with your doubts